Meet Keaton Newgren. He's a law student from Johnstown who previously interned for Senator Joni Ernst. Keaton.
Very good.
Hi, Mr. Vice President. My question is, are you prepared to push back against the former president on allegations you could have overturned the 2020 election?
Well, Keaton, I would refer you to my speech today to answer that question, and the answer is yes. Because I think it's important. And not that I didn't think there were irregularities in the 2020 election. I did. And I said so on that fateful day. I had concerns that there were half a dozen states that had changed the rules in the name of COVID and that had undermined public confidence in our elections. But once states had certified those elections, once the courts had reviewed them, once the Congress had considered any objections, I knew my duty was clear. The Constitution states clearly that the job of the Vice President as President of the Senate is to preside over a joint session of Congress where the Electoral College votes are opened and counted. It says they shall be opened and they shall be counted. And we did that. And I want the American people to know that I believe with all my heart that we did our duty that day. The Bible says he keeps his oath even when it hurts, and I know something about that. I know the disappointment of the 2020 election. You remember I was on the ballot, right? But at the end of the day, I think the Republican Party has to be the party of the Constitution. I mean, we've had enough of Democrats trampling on our constitutional rights. We've had enough of Democrats wanting to pack the court, do away with the Second Amendment, trample our religious freedom. So now more than ever, I think the American people need to be able to look to the Republican Party and say, that will be a party whose leaders are all men and women that are dedicated to preserving, protecting, and defending the Constitution of the United States.
Sir, on that, Donald Trump says he is, quote, inclined to pardon many members of the mob who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Those people were, of course, part of the same mob who built gallows and chanted about wanting to hang you. Would you consider pardoning any of them?
You know, on the day of January 6th, I issued a tweet demanding that people leave the Capitol and end the violence. And I said that those that failed to do that should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And I continue to believe that today. We cannot ever allow what happened on January 6th to happen again in the heart of our democracy. And I'll stand by the decisions and the due process of court in our laws. And I have no interest or no intention of pardoning those that assaulted police officers or vandalized our Capitol. They need to be answerable to the law.
Sir, I want to ask about some breaking news. Tonight, the Justice Department recently informed Donald Trump's legal team that he is a target of a federal investigation into possibly mishandling classified documents. I should say you were cleared last week in your own documents case. What's your reaction to the news about your former boss?
Well, let me say the handling of classified materials is a very serious matter. And that was why after the revelations at the president's residence and the revelations at the former president's residence, I took it upon myself to review our files. And we uncovered a small number of documents that had been inadvertently transferred to our residence in Indiana. I immediately informed the Department of Justice, and I'm grateful after our full cooperation that they concluded that it was an innocent mistake. Full cooperation.
Do you see his case as different?
But let me say this. Look, I don't know the facts of the president's case. I don't know the facts of the former president's case. But what we've got to have in this country is equal treatment under the law. And Dana, you may not know that. I mean, I was very troubled last summer when for the first time in history there was a search warrant executed at the home of a former president of the United States. Surely, you know all the years I served on the Judiciary Committee. That's when you and I first met. There had to be dozens of ways that could have been handled other than that kind of behavior. I mean, when I informed the Department of Justice that we had classified materials potentially in our home, they were at my home. The FBI was on my front doorstep the next day.
But isn't
and what we found out was that when Joe Biden apparently alerted the Department of Justice, 80 days later,
But, sir,
they showed up at his office. That's not equal treatment under the law,
sir,
and we've got to end
I
this
understand you're
two-tier
talking
system
about
of justice.
equal treatment, but the question is allegation that an investigation into obstruction, which you clearly did not do, if that is something that investigators see as possible, and even enough potentially to indict the former president, do you think that that should go forward?
Well, I would hope not. I really would, Dana. I mean, there's several reasons for that. Number one is I think it would be terribly divisive to the country. I mean, at a time when the American people are hurting, I mean to tell you, families are struggling right now with record inflation. We have a crisis at our border, the likes of which we've never seen. We have a flood of fentanyl coming into every city, large and small, in this country that's killing young people every day. We have threats abroad, a crime wave in our cities. I think now more than ever, we ought to be finding ways we could actually come together.
Sir, we're going to get
and
to
this kind of action by the Department of Justice, I think, would only fuel further division in the country. And let me also say, I think it would also send a terrible message to the wider world. I mean, we're the emblem of democracy. We're the symbol of justice in the world. And the serious matter, which has already happened once in New York, of indicting a former president of the United States, sends a terrible message to the world. I hope the DOJ thinks better of it and resolves these issues without an indictment.
Sir, I just want to clarify. What you're saying is that if they believe he committed a crime, they should not go forward with an indictment? You just talked before about committing to the rule of law.
Let me be clear that no one's above the law.
Okay.
But with regard to the unique circumstances here, look, I had no business having classified documents in my residence, and I took full responsibility for it. President Biden had no business having them in his residence from when he was vice president as well. And the same with former President Trump. But I would just hope that there would be a way for them to move forward without the dramatic and drastic and divisive step of indicting a former president of the United States. We've got to find a way to move our country forward and restore confidence in equal treatment under the law in this country. We really do.
Sir, if Donald Trump is convicted of a crime and you're elected president, would you pardon him?
Well, I don't want to speak about hypotheticals. I'm not sure I'm going to be elected president of the United States. But I believe we have a fighting chance. I really believe we do.
And if you are?
And I would hope, again, Dana, you're as persistent as ever. CNN is living up to its reputation. But look, there are real issues the American people are facing. And rather than talking about that, I want to talk about what the people here in Iowa are talking about, which is the failed policies of the Biden administration. And the need for us to have new leadership in the White House and in our party.